come on, make a move. Everybody say it, make a move. Well, another tax day behind us, and another reminder that the rich aren't paying their fair share. Translation, they're not paying for enough of our stuff. Many of us have this nebulous concept of the existence of a class of people known as the rich. This is understandable. Movies, books, politicians all reinforce this perception. They do so for their own not so charitable reasons. And we have this vague sense that these rich people who look like that guy in the Monopoly game with the monocle and the top hat are unchanging and eternal, sitting in a big mansion somewhere, smoking cigars made of $100 bills and sleeping on mattresses full of cash. This brings out feelings of resentment and jealousy over the unfairness and injustice of it all. It shouldn't. One of the interesting things about living in a free society is that while the positive consequences of good decision-making favor the rich, the negative consequences of bad decision-making in terms of the intensity of the psychological impact fall on them much more heavily. And the rich are, if anything, just as subject to making bad decisions as the rest of us. There's a concept called loss aversion, described in a wonderful book by Daniel Kahneman called Thinking Fast and Slow, written in 2011. I highly recommend it. This book describes a number of studies which have indicated that humans feel loss with much more intensity than they feel gain. So, for example, losing $100 creates a much more intense negative feeling than the positive feeling of gaining $100. Now, you hear a lot of trash being talked about the top 1% these days. Care to hazard a guess as to how many of these top 1%ers will be there for only a single year and then be gone? 94%. 94% of these evil 1%ers who are deviously dominating our every move will be back among the 99% the following year. It is very hard to stay in the top 1% because staying there requires a consistent pattern of good decision making as well as usually a fair amount of luck. Now, this combination of good decisions and good fortune is beyond most of us. This statistic and many others show that it is also beyond the top 1%. We also tend to think that Mr. Monopoly with the monocle has created a permanent population of trust fund babies who, with their high spending and low morals, have dedicated their lives to keeping the rest of us down. Among wealthy families, 70% of them have lost their wealth by the second generation. 90% have lost their wealth by the third. Among these trust fund babies, you find a much higher level of depression, substance abuse, and low self-esteem than you do among the general population. Why? Because having money is not success. Earning money is success. Having things that are unearned is psychologically damaging. Those few who take their inheritance and make the most of it, they're doing just fine, emotionally, psychologically, as well as financially. Now, it's important to understand that the money squandered by the bad decisions of these heirs has not been lost. It's been transferred to people, very frequently those lower on the socioeconomic ladder, who are making good decisions and working their way up the ladder. A $2,000 pair of shoes purchased by some currently rich fool is slowly impoverishing the fool, but enriching the shoemaker, his family, and his employees. The same holds true whether the shoemaker is a family shop on the corner or a mega corporation like Adidas. If it's Adidas, you can add in stockholders, that means the people who own the company, as beneficiaries, and 55% of Americans are stockholders. So even when the transaction involves a huge corporation, the 1%er is transferring his wealth to those further down the ladder. Money equals decisions. This is true whether you're a member of the top 1% or the bottom 10%. When we pretend this isn't true, we create dysfunction, unhappiness, and failure. So don't punish the rich. It gives me no pleasure to say this, but for those of us who still need retribution, rest assured that in due time, the rich will generally get around to punishing themselves. So Mr. Monopoly, enjoy that top hat while you can. It will probably be for sale on eBay soon.